Welcome everyone. This is Acid Roots, and we've got an Xzibit album review for you. So, X to the Z, he's a bit of a kind of beneath the radar type dude, which means he does make music, but it's not something you would necessarily hear. So you probably have seen maybe one or two movies. His acting career really took off about 10 years ago, but then he stopped about 6 years ago. So he was also on MTV's Pimp My Ride, and they played his music. And just let you know, he likes vehicles, and he's pretty much like a West Coast dude that gets things done. I always liked him, but I just couldn't figure out like his top best songs, like Eminem or something. Like he just didn't have a song like The Real Slim Shady. But on this album, he actually does get close to that because it's one of my favorite Xzibit songs. But there just isn't an abundance of them. So this is Man vs. Machine, and at that point in time, Xzibit did have the help of Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, and Eminem, in addition to Nate Dogg. So a lot of cats that were big on the West Coast and some of the real title people for rap were involved. And the unfortunate part is this is something that I do feel like you cats can play and everything, but the problem is just there's not necessarily like triple A things. It's kind of more of a slinky album, which means it does it's kind of more of like an internal bleeding. You can't tell the damage that has been done to you. That it's difficult, it's not going to leave a scar, but it will hit you on the inside. So that's the only way I can describe it because so many of these songs are good, but I feel like I'm not going to like them until like 4 months from now, which makes it very difficult to review. But I did manage to find 4 songs that I do like right now. So can you smoke to this? The answer is you can, somewhat. Choke Me, Spank Me is a good one. I think that'll get a couple giggles out of a few of you. It's not necessarily like, it's not that funny, but just out of nowhere, like, how did you come up with this song? Um, My Name has Eminem on it. That one's kind of got a darker beat. And also, Losing Your Mind, that one's a good one. And possibly like Break Yourself too. So I do want to say that Xzibit's kind of like a cross between Eminem and Tech N9ne. He may not indulge as much as Tech N9ne, but he's also closer to charting. He's closer to charting, but not nearly as close as Eminem. So that's kind of what you get. You get kind of someone that people are going to know who Xzibit is, but they just never really go past saying, "Oh yeah, I like Xzibit." That's essentially all they'll say. They're not going to say, "Oh, I know his albums inside and out." It's not like, I know 4 or 5 or 6 of his songs. They're just going to say Xzibit's cool. So that's unfortunate, but with this sort of music, it's kind of difficult to create, solve that argument just because this album is not perfect. And, you know, not some of his future releases didn't have Dre and Eminem on it, so but the production is kind of handled well. I mean, despite Symphony and X Major being kind of like a real odd song, it shouldn't have been called that, and because it just was kind of a waste of a beat. It's a little bit dramatic, but once you listen to the verses, it's pretty good. Release Date's one of the creepiest songs on the whole CD. Break Yourself is another one. If you've watched Pimp My Ride, you've probably heard Multiply once or twice, so that one should be familiar. My Name that sounds like it should be on an Eminem record. The Gambler just sounds like, I swear that I've heard that in movies. That's essentially just a movie soundtrack one. But yeah, there's quite a bit. Enemies is another real good one. So the unheard songs, this is about probably the part you're waiting for. The 4 songs that I like no matter what are Multiply, Choke Me, Spank Me, Losing Your Mind, and My Name. Now each one of these has a guest on it. So Nate Dogg is on 2 of them, Snoop Dogg's on 1, and then Choke Me, Spank Me. That one, I think, people are just going to like this because of the name, and you're going to hear the woman in the hook. But let's talk about the almost songs. Enemies, Release Date, Break Yourself, Symphony, and X Major. All of these songs have something, but you gotta kind of you gotta really try your patience in order to like it. Break Yourself is close, but I feel like some people may not like the hook. Release Date has a bad subject. It's for people who have been in prison for a while. Not necessarily the most approachable topic. Symphony and X Major just feels kind of, out of place. I really don't, just the title didn't make that much sense. And Enemies, I think that one's about one of the closer ones to me actually liking song number 5. But Break Yourself and Enemies are like the 2 best ones. Release Date is good if you can ignore the subject. And Symphony and X Major actually has Dr. Dre, but he's not really rapping. He's just kind of bragging a little bit. So that would bring it up to 8 out of 14 songs if that were the case. But, as time goes along, I may end up liking these. But, yeah, that'll let you know. And so, obviously, there's people that you can check out besides Xzibit. He's had better songs, like there's not an alcoholic on here, and there's not things like that, but yeah, I mean, I'll probably review more Xzibit records as time goes along. So I I recommend this release, but not by a landslide. I'm gonna give it like a 4.5 out of 10. So because I like 4 out of 14 songs, which is about, I should give it a 3, but because I might end up liking some of the almost songs, I'm going to yeah, because I like some of the almost songs, I'm going to give it a 4.5. Now, if I end up liking 8 out of 14, like I said, I might, you can just give this score like a 6.5 to a 7. But we'll see. The Future Xzibit dropped an album a few years ago, so check that out. Is this album social? Not really. I'm going to give it like a 3 out of 10 social, just because, like I said, with that argument as far as whether or not Xzibit is people will admit that he's a cool guy because they've heard him in some way. He's put himself out there, so people will know who he is. But just the problem with it is that there's just not enough substance to make people actually become enamored with him. So, Multiply is one of the best songs, and I just don't feel like a lot of people are going to have the tolerance. The Eminem song, that one just is not as a huge hit as it could be for a song with Eminem. The Dr. Dre song isn't either. The Snoop Dogg song isn't. It just feels like, you know, these are like B list songs when they need to be A list, and that's the main problem. So Xzibit's pretty much just gonna be like beneath the radar like he usually is. But if you like rap a little bit more than normal, you might actually find a few songs. So that's why I give it a 3 out of 10 social. Subscribe for more fun. I think it can be top. We'll see if it does. And definitely 4.5 out of 10 and 3 social.